His days shadowing Mimi, a captivating Oriental dancer whose every movement seemed to tell a story of its own. Mimi was renowned for her grace and the passionate energy she poured into each performance. Every night, under the dim yet enchanting lights of the nightclub, her soul appeared to pour out onto the stage. Each arc of her arms, each spin of her feet, mesmerized the audience, leaving them spellbound. Tartar's role in her life was much quieter, but equally significant. Each arc of her arms, each spin of her feet, mesmerized the audience, leaving them spellbound. Tartar's role in her life was much quieter, but equally significant. Mimi didn't mind his silence. She appreciated his presence and unspoken support. She was a woman of the arts, fully immersed in her world of rhythm and dance. Tartar's silent composure worked well with her fiery resolve. However, Tartar harbored a secret. In his quiet moments, he penned down every observation he made about Mimi's dancing and her routines. His notebook was filled with sketches, notes, and sometimes even full pages of poetic renderings of her performances. He observed the smallest details, the flick of her wrist, the dip of her waist, the power and control she had over the audience. Though he never shared his writings with her, it was his way of honoring her craft. One evening, before a significant performance, Mimi injured her ankle. Panic spread through the backstage. The show was to start in less than an hour. Mimi was distraught, but she tried to mask her pain. She had never canceled a performance, and tonight's show was crucial, a make-or-break moment. Tartar looked at her, the silent understanding passing between them. For the first time, he spoke, just 3 words, filled with determination. "I can help." Mimi was taken aback. She had never doubted Tartar's capabilities, but she didn't realize the extent of his dedication. "You? How?" she queried, with a mix of skepticism and hope. Mimi was taken aback. She had never doubted Tartar's capabilities, but she didn't realize the extent of his dedication. "You? How?" she queried, with a mix of skepticism and hope. They decided to take a risk. With Mimi guiding him through the steps, Tartar stepped onto the stage, dressed in one of her backup costumes. The audience noticed the difference, but were curious rather than disappointed. As the music began, Tartar's movements echoed Mimi's, albeit in his unique style. The elegance, the precision, everything he had observed, documented, and practiced in secret came to life on that stage. The performance was a success. The applause was thunderous. Mimi, watching from the wings, felt a swell of pride and relief. Tartar stepped off the stage, breathless and overwhelmed by the experience. Mimi embraced him, her eyes moist with gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered, acknowledging his silent but unwavering support. From that night on, their dynamic changed. Tartar was not a man of many words. He spent his days shadowing Mimi, a captivating Oriental dancer whose every movement seemed to tell a story of its own. Mimi was renowned for her grace and the passionate energy she poured into each performance. Every night, under the dim yet enchanting lights of the nightclub, her soul appeared to pour out onto the stage. Each arc of her arms, each spin of her feet, mesmerized the audience, leaving them spellbound. Tartar's role in her life was much quieter, but equally significant. Each arc of her arms, each spin of her feet, mesmerized the audience, leaving them spellbound. Tartar's role in her life was much quieter, but equally significant. Mimi didn't mind his silence. She appreciated his presence and unspoken support. She was a woman of the arts, fully immersed in her world of rhythm and dance. Tartar's silent composure worked well with her fiery resolve. However, Tartar harbored a secret. In his quiet moments, he penned down every observation he made about Mimi's dancing and her routines. His notebook was filled with sketches, notes, and sometimes even full pages of poetic renderings of her performances. He observed the smallest details, the flick of her wrist, the dip of her waist, the power and control she had over the audience. Though he never shared his writings with her, it was his way of honoring her craft. One evening, before a significant performance, Mimi injured her ankle. Panic spread through the backstage. The show was to start in less than an hour. Mimi was distraught, but she tried to mask her pain. She had never canceled a performance, and tonight's show was crucial, a make-or-break moment. Tartar looked at her, the silent understanding passing between them. For the first time, he spoke, just 3 words, filled with determination. "I can help." Mimi was taken aback. She had never doubted Tartar's capabilities, but she didn't realize the extent of his dedication. "You? How?" she queried, with a mix of skepticism and hope. Mimi was taken aback. She had never doubted Tartar's capabilities, but she didn't realize the extent of his dedication. "You? How?" she queried, with a mix of skepticism and hope. They decided to take a risk. With Mimi guiding him through the steps, Tartar stepped onto the stage, dressed in one of her backup costumes. The audience noticed the difference, but were curious rather than disappointed. As the music began, Tartar's movements echoed Mimi's, albeit in his unique style. The elegance, the precision, everything he had observed, documented, and practiced in secret came to life on that stage. The performance was a success. The applause was thunderous. Mimi, watching from the wings, felt a swell of pride and relief. Tartar stepped off the stage, breathless and overwhelmed by the experience. Mimi embraced him, her eyes moist with gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered, acknowledging his silent but unwavering support. From that night on, their dynamic changed. In a small village surrounded by towering mountains and dense forests, there lived a young boy named Kareem. Kareem had a special passion for nature, and he would spend long hours watching the sky and watching the clouds move slowly, changing their shapes and flowing quietly across the horizon. He always dreamed of touching those soft clouds and discovering what they hid behind them. One day, while Kareem was sitting on a small hill contemplating the clouds, an old man with a long white beard and eyes that shone with wisdom approached him. The man sat next to Kareem and said to him in a calm voice, "I see that you like the sky and the clouds very much, don't you?" Kareem answered enthusiastically, "Yes, I wish I could fly and reach the clouds and discover what is behind them." The old man smiled and said, "Well, I have something you might like." Then he took out a large, colorful kite from his small bag and gave it to Kareem. "This is not an ordinary kite, it is magical. If you ride it, it will take you on a trip to the clouds." Kareem was filled with amazement and excitement at the same time. The old man, who had disappeared as suddenly as he had appeared, thanked him, then grabbed the kite and rode it carefully. As soon as he grabbed the string and opened its wings in the air, the kite began to rise gradually. The kite rose higher than the wind, carrying Kareem with it towards the sky. The clouds began to approach him more and more, until he was in the middle of them. The clouds were soft as silk, cold but comfortable. As Kareem soared among the clouds, he saw amazing sights: small cities floating on the clouds, trees with golden leaves, and colorful birds singing sweet melodies. Kareem continued flying until he reached a great castle made of clouds, sparkling with the sun's rays. The castle was full of joy and fun, and its inhabitants were cute creatures that looked like little children, but were made of clouds. They welcomed Kareem warmly and told him that they were the guardians of dreams. Their mission was to protect people's dreams and ensure that they remained pure and beautiful. Kareem spent days in this magical castle, where he learned how dreams are woven and how clouds can transform into beautiful images in people's imaginations while they sleep. Kareem loved this magical world, but he felt nostalgic for his village and family. One day, the leader of the Dream Guardians approached him and said, "It's time to go back, Kareem. Your dreams will always be with us, but your true place is on Earth." Kareem said goodbye to his new friends and climbed back onto the kite. The kite began to descend slowly, returning to Earth. When Kareem reached the ground, he found himself on the hill from which he had set off, but only moments had passed. Kareem kept the kite as a memento of his journey to the clouds, and he began to talk about that journey to everyone he knew. Although he had returned to his normal life, his heart was filled with peace and happiness, and he knew that the clouds held endless dreams, waiting only for those who dared to reach them. In the heart of Cairo lives Kareem, an ambitious young man from a middle-class family. Kareem works as an architect in a construction company and dreams of building projects that leave a mark on the city. Despite the challenges and difficulties he faces in his work and personal life, Kareem does not lose hope and continues to strive to achieve it. In the same city, there lives Miriam, a beautiful and intelligent girl who works as a primary school teacher. Miriam dedicates her life to children and believes that education is the only way to change the lives of these children. Her dream is to open a school for needy children in slums, where they can be provided with quality education and a better opportunity for the future. Looking out for one another in times of joy and sorrow. At the heart of this village lived Layla, a young girl with an insatiable passion for writing. Her days were filled with scribbling stories and penning down the world as she saw it, always with a glint of curiosity in her eyes. One serene morning, a disturbance broke the village's tranquil rhythm. An important letter intended for one of the villagers had gone missing. This wasn't just any letter, it held vital information concerning the village's future. As whispers of the lost letter grew louder, concerns spread among the villagers. It was then that Layla, always eager for a new story, decided to embark on a quest to uncover the mystery of the lost letter. Layla's journey began with conversations. She spoke to the villagers, each interaction unraveling different threads about the letter's last known whereabouts. Old Man Jonathan, the village historian, recalled seeing it at the post office. Mrs. Green, the baker, remembered it being handed over with a batch of deliveries. The errand boy, Ravi, mentioned he might have dropped it near the marketplace. The more Layla listened, the more she learned not just about the letter, but about the people themselves. She discovered Mrs. Green's hidden passion for painting, Jonathan's regret over a lost love, and Ravi's dreams of becoming a sailor. Eldoria, she realized, was a tapestry of human emotions and untold stories woven together. As Layla pieced together the clues, she traversed the familiar, yet now seemingly new village paths. She visited the post office, the bustling marketplace, and the serene village park. Each step brought her closer to understanding the deeper connections and hidden sorrows masked behind everyday smiles. One evening, Layla found herself at the cliffside overlooking the village. It was there she stumbled upon the crumpled letter, nestled under a rock, as if waiting to be found. With trembling hands, she opened it, revealing an apology from Eliza, her childhood friend who had moved away years ago. The letter expressed regret for past misunderstandings and a longing to rebuild their friendship. The contents of the letter held a weight that words could scarcely bear. It spoke of the pain of severed ties, the courage to seek forgiveness, and the hope for new beginnings. As Layla read, she felt a surge of emotions, a blend of relief, joy, and the sweet sting of nostalgia. The discovery of the letter was not the end of her quest, but the beginning of healing. With renewed purpose, Layla returned to the village, letter in hand. She shared it with the community, fostering an atmosphere of reconciliation. Old grievances were addressed, friendships mended, and the village of Aldoria found itself even more tightly knit than before. Layla's quest to find the lost letter had not only resolved the mystery but also illuminated the importance of communication and understanding. She learned that often, the most significant messages are those that come from the heart. And so, Aldoria returned to its tranquil rhythm, the bonds of its people stronger, their stories intertwined with newfound compassion and hope. Layla continued to write, capturing the essence of her village, knowing well that the most powerful tales are those lived and felt by the heart. Periods of unrest refer to times marked by significant strife, conflict, and instability on social, political, or religious fronts. This phenomenon has deep historical roots and can have profound impacts on both societies and individuals. Let's explore this topic from multiple angles. Definition of unrest. In Arabic, the term fitna means testing or trial and is often used to refer to disputes and conflicts that lead to societal discord and division. Such unrest can be religious, political, or social in nature. Causes of unrest. Intellectual and religious differences. Unrest can arise from differences in beliefs and ideologies, leading to societal conflicts. Injustice and tyranny. Oppressive and unjust policies can lead to uprisings and disturbances. Economic interests. Conflicts over economic resources and wealth can be a major cause of unrest. External interventions. Foreign interference in a nation's affairs can destabilize it and provoke unrest. Effects of unrest. Social fragmentation. Unrest can lead to the division of society and increased discord among its members. Violence and destruction. Periods of unrest often result in violent conflicts, causing significant human and material losses. Weakening of states. Prolonged unrest weakens governments and states, making them vulnerable to external interventions and collapse. Humanitarian crises. Unrest leads to humanitarian crises, including refugees, displaced persons, and shortages in food and healthcare. Historical examples of unrest. The First Fitna, 656 to 661 AD, an internal conflict in the Islamic State following the assassination of Caliph Uthman ibn Affan, leading to civil war among Muslims. Civil wars. Many historical civil wars were consequences of unrest, such as the English Civil War, 1642 to 1651, and the American Civil War, 1861 to 1865. Religious conflicts, for instance, the Crusades and sectarian conflicts in many countries. How to address unrest. Education and awareness. Promoting awareness and education can help understand the deep-seated causes of unrest and work towards resolving them. Justice and equality. Achieving social justice and equality can reduce the causes leading to unrest. Dialogue and negotiation. Encouraging dialogue and negotiation between conflicting parties can help resolve disputes peacefully. Wise leadership. Leadership that works for the benefit of all and listens to people's demands can play a significant role in preventing and managing unrest. Conclusion. Periods of unrest are challenging times in the life of any society, but they can also be opportunities for learning and growth. By understanding the causes of unrest and working towards addressing them fundamentally, societies can overcome these tough periods and build a more stable and just future. In the bustling suburbs of a sprawling metropolis, there lived a woman named Ria. Ria was a striking figure, with sharp features and a magnetic charisma that drew people to her like moths to a lamp. But hers was not a traditional success story. Instead, it relied on the electrifying power of the digital age and the provocative allure of the forbidden. Ria was not just an entrepreneur, she was an air trader in the vast, dark marketplace of the internet, trading in the currency of desire and fantasy. Ria's story began when she stumbled upon social media, a labyrinth where concealment could confuse showmanship. With one click, she found herself introduced to a world where likes translated into attention, and she realized that attention could be monetized. She was smart and aware of the age-old truth that people crave what they cannot have. She decided to license her persona, a digital siren singing songs of seductive mystery. Through a series of carefully crafted posts, Ria began sharing images that walked a fine line between suggestive and unspoken promise. Each image was a piece of her puzzle, full of seduction, and more telling than revealing. She understood psychology. The chase was always more exciting than the hunt. Her following grew, each click an affirmation of her power in this modern agora. But her most important moment of enlightenment came when she learned that she could sell air, access to her world, for a price. On WhatsApp, she positioned herself as an exclusive entity. Her followers weren't just consuming content, they were being granted proximity, an illusion of intimacy. For a fee, they could chat with her, hear her voice in whispery tones, or view photos and videos that veered into more seductive territory. Every interaction was a transaction, every message a coin in the pot of her new age venture. Ria's methods were as varied as they were daring. Private calls dripping with eroticism became the norm. She mastered the art of erotic whispering, turning ordinary conversations into guilty pleasures. Her clients felt special and chosen, and in return, they paid handsomely for the fantasy. As she discovered, a live performance platform that blurred reality and scripted seduction. Here, her sensuality was not just static, it moved, interacted, and responded in real time. It was a performance, an act, where she controlled the lights, the storyline, and the plunging neckline. Yet her approach was not limited to visuals and sound alone. Ria understood the powerful pull of unfulfillable desires. She sold subscriptions for glimpses into her life, sexy candid photos, seductive commentary, and private galleries of her daily routines. Laka bin laka is an expression used in the hadiths of the Prophet to refer to a worthless person or a corrupt person who is not worthy of respect. This expression comes in the context of talking about the later times and the nearness of the hour, when the scales will be tipped and sedition and corruption will spread. Among the hadiths that mentioned Laka bin Laka is the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace. The hour will not come until the happiest people in this world are Laka bin Laka, narrated by Al-Tirmidhi and others. Laka bin Laka refers to a person from the lowly or worthless people. The use here is to indicate the tipping of the scales, so that corrupt and undeserving people will be in a high position and obtain worldly fortunes. The time of Laka bin Laka refers to the later times and the nearness of the hour, when great changes will occur in values and principles. Tipping the scales, the ignorant and lowly people will assume high positions and become influential and powerful. Spread of corruption. Corruption and injustice increase and moral standards are reversed. Trials. Trials increase and people become confused and misled. Loss of trust. Trust is not given to its people and people betray each other. The appearance of Laka bin Laka is one of the minor signs of the Day of Judgment, and it occurs before the major signs, which include smoke, Dajjal, the beast, the sun rising from the west, the descent of Jesus, son of Mary, Yajuj and Majuj, the three eclipses, the fire that gathers people. The expression Laka bin Laka comes as a prediction of the state of society in later times in terms of the spread of corruption and the reversal of values. It is a reminder to Muslims of the importance of adhering to values and morals and being prepared to face tribulations with wisdom and patience. The story of the end of time and the appearance of the Antichrist is one of the important topics in Islamic religious beliefs. Here is a summary of the story based on the Prophet's hadiths, signs of the end times, and the appearance of the Antichrist. Great signs of the hour smoke. Great smoke appears and covers the ground. Antichrist, the greatest temptation in history. He is a man who claims divinity and performs supernatural acts. Animal, a creature that appears to speak to people and separates the believer from the unbeliever. The rising of the sun from the west, a change in the movement of the sun, which is a sign of the approaching day of resurrection. The descent of Jesus, son of Mary, the prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, returns to earth to eliminate the Antichrist and lead the believers. Gog and Magog, a people who appear and wreak havoc on earth. Three eclipses, an eclipse in the east, an eclipse in Morocco, and an eclipse in the Arabian Peninsula. A fire coming out of Yemen. It will gather the people to their place of gathering. Friends, a lawyer, a YouTuber, and a farmer embarked on a trip to the United Arab Emirates. They were excited to explore the rich culture and stunning landscapes of the UAE. They spent time together at every step of the journey. However, some characters emerged who were plotting against the farmer. These individuals tried to trap the farmer by filming him in a pornographic setting to defame him on social media and mock him. The main goal of the trip was to catch the farmer making mistakes to film and disgrace him, revealing the malicious side of some people exploiting others for their personal gain.
قصة تتناول البحث عن الحقيقة والتواصل الإنساني. تبدأ القصة في قرية صغيرة يعيش فيها مجموعة من الأشخاص تربطهم علاقات قوية. ولكن في يوم من الأيام تتعثر رسالة مهمة كان من المفترض أن تصل إلى أحد سكان القرية. تدور القصة حول شخصية رئيسية تدعى ليلى، وهي فتاة شغوفة بالكتابة. وعندما تكتشف أن الرسالة الضائعة تحتوي على معلومات مهمة عن مستقبل القرية، تقرر ليلى تتبع أثر هذه الرسالة ومعرفة ما حدث لها. تبدأ ليلى رحلتها بالتحدث إلى قرويين آخرين واستكشاف الأماكن التي ربما مرت بها الرسالة. خلال هذه الرحلة تتعلم الكثير عن المشاعر الإنسانية مثل الحب والصداقة والخيانة، كما تكتشف أن الرسالة ليست مجرد قطعة ورق بل تحمل مشاعر وآمال وأحلام. مع تقدم القصة تواجه ليلى العديد من التحديات، لكنها تتمسك بعزيمتها. في النهاية تجد الرسالة المفقودة وتكتشف أنها تحتوي على اعتذار من أحد أصدقائها القدام، مما يؤدي إلى المصالحة وإعادة بناء العلاقات. وتنتهي القصة برسالة حول أهمية التواصل والتفاهم بين الأفراد، وأن الرسالة الأكثر أهمية في بعض الأحيان قد تكون تلك التي تأتي من القلب. في عالم الشهرة والأضواء يتوارى الكثير خلف الكواليس، يخفى الكثير وراء الستار. نجمة مشهورة بكل جمالها وتألقها، الجميع يحبها، الجميع يعجب بها، لكن في أعماقها هي تعرف الحقيقة التي غابت عن الأنظار، حقيقة زوجها الشهير الذي خانها. بلغتها الأخبار عبر تغريدة بسيطة مكتوبة بقلم ابنة غضب، تغريدة تكشف ارتباك العلاقات الزوجية وراء الستار. المشاهير ليسوا مثلنا جميعا، لكن الخيانة هي شيء يمكن أن يلم به الجميع. إنها قصة عن مراجعة الأمور الحقيقية في حياتنا، القيم، الاهتمامات، العمل، الحب، الغدر، كل شيء.
مش كل من لبس توب ومسك فلوس يقولوا عليها راجل.
مزاجية العقل بأناقة، تاج التمرد، كحل الجنون، عطر الغرور. جمعت الفصول الأربعة في جعبتي، كبيرة كأني شمس الظهيرة، صغيرة كأني عصفورة على شجيرة. ثق بي واحذرني، وسعيرني وسر عني، فأنا الحياة بكل وجوهها، قد أغرقك مطرا وقد أقتلك عطشا.